Hey there, in this video I'll show you one of the easiest way how to colorize your model without unwrapping and hand painted texture. I'll show you how to add gradients, patterns, how to mix them, and some other simple tricks. I already prepared all stuff what we need. I use Eevee. If you don't know how to switch your render engine, here we have button render, and here you can switch to Eevee. Yes, and let's jump to the shading. And here, let's switch our solid mode to the preview mode. We'll start from the eyes, and I believe that you already know how to add material, that's why I'm just skip this part. Look at this branch. We have here principal BSDF node. Have a lot of cool and powerful settings, but they more about material, and this video about colorize. So if you don't know how they working, I think your next video should be about principal BSDF node. Let's click the eye. Here we can, in base color, we can choose our single color. And if you think that the single color is a little bit boring and you want to add gradient, for me it was like Shift A, I want a gradient, and gradient texture. And this is a little bit not what I'm expected. Here we have only one option, blending style. So the Blender nodes like a Lego. You have to construct your idea, and if we want to add gradient, we need color ramp node to play with colors. Here you can add as much color as you want, and you can play with interpolation between the colors. Now it's liners. So let's connect to base color, and now we have gradient. These nodes created to manage your texture. I don't think that you need something more than rotation to the gradient texture. And this branch of nodes will be our base to add pattern. So we'll go to the next part. And this is our pattern of waves. Here you have some options to play with waves, with settings. For example, if you want just a strength stripes, you can set distortion to 0 and you will get strength stripes. In color ramp node, we have a constant interpolation between the colors, so you can see difference between the liner interpolation between the colors and the constant interpolation. And you can add here as much color as you want to get some crazy multicolorized waves. So now you know how to add gradients, how to add pattern, and let's go to the next step, and I'll show you how to control your texture, one of the controller. So I'm a little bit modify our previous branch by this part. Yep. This is still principal BSDF node in the base. And what we have here, look at this part. Here we have gradient texture and Voronoi texture. Voronoi texture in base will be like a closest, like just a random dot. Let's set it back to crackle. Our gradient texture and node mix RGB. Here is just a mix, but if you press Shift A, search mix RGB node. So we connect our gradient texture to color 1 and Voronoi texture to color 2. Now we can play with Blender. 0, this is gradient texture. 1, this is Voronoi texture. And now, look what we have here. Now if we play with color ramp, you can see how your pattern feels your object. Cool and simple. Look at our mapping. Here we have rotation 90 degree, and it's not so powerful of Voronoi, but for gradient texture, it means that our texture moves on the 90 degree. So now our pattern fills our object from the bottom to the top. So as you can see, everything's simple, and all this time we just a little bit modified our first branch. Now you know how to add gradients, how to add patterns, and how to control your patterns. Let's go and a little bit modify it again and mix them. So look, this is our previous branch, but our Voronoi texture set to the closest. Now we have beautiful dots, our controller, and here we have our gradient texture. This is just a copy paste from one of the previous object, and for example, if you have the same settings, you can use only one mapping and texture coordinate. Okay, so if we want to mix just color, we can use a mix RGB node and connect this branch and this branch, connect the base color. But in this case, I use mix shader node, and let me show you. It's everything working. Yep. Here we have gradient color. Here we can find some cool and funny solution. Okay. I like dirty green. And now by this mix shader node, I can play with the softness of all this part. Look. 1. This is just our pattern part and principal BSDF. And 0, it's just a single gradient. So we make them by the mix shader. And look what we have here. Altogether it looks like this. And look what we have here. Diffuse BSDF node, shader to RGB node, and color ramp node. And if we just connect them to the surface, now we have very simple tone shader, like a colors variation based on the light. Just a flat colors, and this is like a original shadow. We can play with the color of our shadow and the color of our base, and if we mix them with all this part, now we have very beautiful and simple, like a 2D shadow. Look at this, very simple effect. Yeah. And I like that we can control the colors. So now let's go to the last part, and let's speak about water. Let's show you how you can modify your pattern. Here we have our tone shader, yeah, with the color variation. And here we have Voronoi texture, set and crackle. As you can understand, it's a little bit not like just a Voronoi, because here we have our modification. If we just add texture coordinate, look, this is original Voronoi texture. And this part helps us modify our Voronoi texture. And now we have beautiful and curved lines. Here I'm using Musgrave texture, a lot of cool settings. You can play with all of them. So let's go to the render image. So look what we have here. Now we can add some effects, some shiny, play with light, play with camera focus. But as you can see, 99% of this picture made it by these simple steps. So now you know, guys, how to start colorize your model. And if you want to know more about Blender, in the description of this video I added some links to the very powerful channels about Blender. So this is it. Bye bye.